All right, let's have a look. There should be sound. And there should be me. Welcome to 52 Miniatures. My name is Alex. I believe this is live stream number 32. It's a Friday. I'm in Stockholm. Regular folk are probably out. Yeah, not in their bunkers, having a good time, doing barbecues and stuff. And I'm here, stuck with you lot. Just the way I like it. Hello, Max Power. How are you doing? My screen is a bit dark. Hope you're well. We've got lots of people already in the chat. Lovely for you folks to be here joining me. T-Bouncer, how are you doing? And the Great Weirdling from Denmark. Welcome. George, good evening and greetings from Germany. Or greetings to Germany. I'm not in Germany. Kind of, that'd be nice. I hear the beer's good this time of the year. Mark, how are you doing, Mark? Hope you're well. I haven't seen you in a while. Mark is a dear patron. There's several of my dear patrons here. Hi, Mark. Murder Dungeon Slot Cars, that's a good nickname. Hello. Greetings from Madison over in the US and Johnny from Maryland in the US. I guess, what's the time over there for you guys? It's like just past lunchtime or something. Eugene, coffee. Now this is not peachy tips. This is PG tips. Soviet Bear, how are you? Jamie, hello Jamie, and Mr. W. Hope you're well. The Fox Mask. Is this live right now? I mean, I'm alive, and I'm hoping you're alive. And so I guess we're live. Welcome. Maura Knight from Oregon, how are you doing? Kermit, good evening. John Delaney, 2 p.m. Yeah, 2 p.m. I even wrote that on my Instagram just now, didn't I? Advertising myself shamelessly. My hair it's turned into its own sort of entity. This stuff. Crush, how are you doing? Love your channel. AM in California. Thank you. I appreciate it. Tiggertail said, oh my God, I just realized Alex's outfit is color matched to the terrain. I believe that is just circumstance, or is just the fact that all my things in life are like a little brown or a little orange and a little blue. And so wherever I go, as long as I'm in my own domain, I'm sort of half camouflaged. Tropical Grimdark is making a guest appearance. Yes, it's actually based on the fact that I've had a bit to do, and then all of a sudden I got hit by a really bad flu. In retrospect, it could have been pandemic. Yeah, so I've been really out of it and just stuck at home for quite some time. At least that's what it feels like mentally. I think maybe it was 3 days or something that I was at home, forcing myself not to work. I'm still a bit sort of salty. But anyway, so this is still here since I filmed and took pictures from the last video. I haven't had time to clean up because I've been working on the next video. But it also turns into a little bit of a nice setting, doesn't it? It's like live streaming in the middle of warfare. No, don't jump into the toxic tea. Martin Cobb, Hola Martin, thank you for the super chat thingy, giving me money. Can we raise enough money for me to buy an expensive Swedish beer after this is over? That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? You can always. I've never done it, but I think there's like if you press the dollar symbol lots of times and just type in high amounts, I think that works. Seek Hulten Cavilius is speaking Swedish and says he loves my content, which is thank you very much. Chris, how are you doing? Checking in from Jordan. Yes. Painting cowboys for Dead by Lead. I remember you speaking about Dead by Lead. I met Chris together with Jamie and some other patrons a little while back in the UK at Salute, the convention, which was just a great moment to be able to catch up with some of my patrons. I think I remember you speaking about Dead by Lead at that point, Chris. Jamie Mayer says it's a very tasteful ochreish background wall. Indeed, it's a lamp. It's an ochreish lamp. You guys know, right, that orange, no, brown doesn't really exist. I remember Adrian sharing a video about this. That was another patron. It was really kind of fun and fascinating. But like orange is, brown is only sort of very dark orange. And yeah, I don't know why I'm saying this. It's just a fun thing about colors. Max Power is asking, have you sorted the new pad yet? No, I haven't. Definitely not had the time. It's I've got a lamp. I've kind of got, I haven't really got a desk, but I've got a piece of wood that could be turned into a desk. All of a sudden, I have quite a lot of paints to take out, which are these, which will be featured in the next video. Fanatic war paints from Army Painter. Got a bunch of them. So I've got paints. Need to get some paint racks and some camera holdy thingies. Hopefully get to sort that out within the next few weeks so that during summer I can spend some time in the new pad, which is essentially, I'm dubbing it the second story of my bunker, which is fictional truth. It's actually, kind of like a loft out in a cottage out sort of in the middle of nowhere, where it would be nice to be able to make videos every now and again, just because of fresh air and sunlight and things like that, which after spending most of your days in a bunker, a few years later, there is a craving that starts building up of seeing what the world actually looks like. Soviet Bear, another $2. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Beer Money Fund, ka-ching. Still, well, we're almost getting up into the price of a very cheap beer in Sweden, but we're getting there. Thank you. Post Cynical says, so you haven't had a chance to use your terrain yet? Shame. No, I haven't. I definitely not had the time to play any game. I met up with one of my gaming buddies, Carl, last night, but we just had a chat and didn't do any gaming. I want to soon. I have some things lined up for summer. I'm going to test play a few games. That's going to become a few videos. And even though I'm we'll get into the main subject of this video later on, but even though I'm not super enticed to like keep adding to my Stormcast Age of Sigmar army, obviously when the new rules appear, I'll probably still try and play the game because I have friends that play it, and just proxy if need be the things that I have, just use what I've got. Murder Dungeon Slot Cows says, last night I was weathering my MDF terrain while watching you weathering your MDF. Then a portal opened up and I believe I was pulled into an alternate dimension. That happens to me pretty much. I think as soon as the alarm goes off in the morning, I'm pulled into an alternate dimension. Rob Baxter says, hey, dig your videos. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for being awesome, Rob. I really appreciate it. Pato, hey man, love your basing tutorials. Thank you. I appreciate it. I've just recently got, I should walk over. I should walk over and get some stuff. Will you excuse me for about 50 seconds? I'm going to get some fun things. So I went to my local friendly game store, Alpha Spell, a few weeks back. Got some things for the gaming table, which some of it is just a little bit boring. It's like red-ish sand or rocks, blackish sand or rocks, some Geek Gaming Scenics sand. I know that's sad, but I have sand that comes from outside where usually sand lives. It's free. You can just sort of get it and sterilize it in the oven. But I want to have some of this stuff handy just for video purposes. People who don't live close to sand, I guess, might want to see that you can buy sand expensively. This is $10 worth a little bag of sand. Feels kind of stupid now. But I got these. This is what I wanted to show you. Kraut cover. One is terrain Kodama Woods. It kind of looks a little bit like tea leaves and some other organic mass, and I don't know what. I just really like the mixture, and it goes from really fine grain to sort of larger things with some green things, and I was kind of impressed by that. And then there was this weird one, which is called the Tale of Grimdark. Which if you shake it like this, all of a sudden you get skulls, pieces of bone, like miniature, like resin printed or whatever, bones in here, in among all the dirt and little rocks. And I don't know. I really like the look of these. So have a look at Kraut cover. For like basing stuff. Sorry, that would have put me back in the chat. Martin says, all the cool kids support Alex on Patreon if they are able to do so. Yes, they do. I've got all the cool kids hanging out on my Patreon. And all support on Patreon is greatly appreciated. As it proves to be rather difficult to be sort of making money at the moment. Also, please just like and subscribe if you haven't, but especially press like. There's 68 of you in this chat right now, and there's only 40 likes. And the weird thing with YouTube is it doesn't actually let other people know, even if they're subscribing sometimes, that videos, live streams exist, because I live streams a bit too rarely, and YouTube just goes by the algorithm that no one watches your live stream, so why should we tell anyone? But the more people that press like and engage, then YouTube starts sharing it so that other people see that this is actually going on at the moment. Awkward Shrimp. I'm from Los Angeles. Hi. Painting in AOS Spearhead now, Cities of Sigmar. I'm painting it like Soldiers of the War of Roses, Richard III. You inspired me to research and make minis on my own. That's very cool. I'm glad to hear it. I think the cities of Sigmar are pretty awesome. I really like that range of miniatures. George Miro says, wasn't it purple, non-existing color? I don't know. Maybe no colors exist. I know brown is not actually a color. It's just other colors darkened down, kind of. Mark from Montana says, I have 38 shades of brown. How appropriate. I gravitate to non-existent colors. Indeed. Niklas Andersson, more beer money. Thank you. We've almost reached a 1 beer. How intoxicated do you want to get me? Is this a challenge? I'm just trying to steal your money. Thank you, Niklas. Cake. Hey, hi. To answer your headline, of course, you should play Infinity. There's quite a few of... That's regarding the topic of this video. There's quite a few Infinity miniatures around here somewhere. I just can't reach them. Here's one. I painted quite a few of them for my Stargrave crew. Not tons, but a few. And yes, there is a plan to playtest Infinity this summer and make a video on it. No promises. I need to get everything sort of sorted and planned and in hand, but there's a plan for that. The fox masks, I apologize for being late with replies. It's just the way it works with chats on YouTube, kind of. The fox mask, are you really done with AOS? So sad I'm painting them right now. I always got great inspiration from you. I mean, if miniatures, well, one should never say never. That's just being dumb. And, sometimes particular miniatures come along that I really just want to paint. And so that can definitely happen. I think what's turned me off is putting any more effort into my army. And the army has been what I've been working on for Age of Sigmar. Now I have an army that I will try and play with, and I just want to see what other things are out there. I guess in translation, there's also the fact that maybe how I make videos or paint miniatures or ideas and thoughts can be applicable on different things. Like even if I paint some other style of fantasy miniature, maybe the reasoning and story behind it can be applied to Age of Sigmar, even though it isn't actually an Age of Sigmar model. But this is a little bit of a curse in a way with how things also work on YouTube, like the fact that I don't mess around all that much with 40K. It directly affects how many people view my channel, because 40K is the most popular game. But even, if you're just looking for inspiration on how to paint something like painting a cool yellow, in theory, from my side of things, I should be able to do it on whatever miniature I like, and the person watching should be able to just apply that to whatever they like. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Carolyn, hello from Canada. Thank you for being such a kind voice in this space. As a woman just starting to get into Warhammer and mini painting, your videos made me feel like there's room for me. Of course there's room for you. There is room for everyone who wants to paint miniatures and play games. And I appreciate it that you say it. I always hope to try and make, whatever little thing I can to make as many people as possible feel welcome into this hobby, because the more we are, the more fun we'll have. Hello, Halika. How are you doing? Linux and the Navigator, because everyone's jumping straight into the, what games should I play? I'd also really like to hear what miniatures you think are fun to paint. that isn't Warhammer miniatures. This is a you know, the thing. Doesn't only have to be like getting into a new game. It can just be these miniatures are really cool, you know. Lena says Stargrave, Frostgrave Archipelago. I didn't really know about Frostgrave Archipelago. We've got, I don't know where my Stargrave book is. Maybe it's at home. Here's a Frostgrave book. Ta-da! Hello, Adrian. How are you doing? George, thank you. €5. Okay, we're into beer. Almost reaching into having dinner territory. Maybe I get to eat today. Thank you very much, George. We tasted Mariestad while being in Stockholm. Does it count as goodish Swedish beer? No, I'd classify Mariestad as beer, kind of like Carlsberg or some other beer. It's just beer. Robert Sultanik says there are other skirmish games you could leverage your already painted stuff, such as Stargrave and Xenos Rising. There is indeed. I think my mind always. I have two issues. I've got tons of issues with my mind, but to sort of come to mind right now that are applicable to this situation, which is one. I'm always kind of jumping into something new. So I still want to finish my gaming table and play a War Transformed, which also means I need to make an army or two for a War Transformed. Yet my mind is already going like, maybe I should play Silver Bayonet with the really small Napoleonics, or maybe I should do this, or maybe I should do that, because I kind of feed off of ideas that way. I'm also get sort of really attracted by settings and specific ideas, kind of like with my armies for Age of Sigmar, where I'm not really massively into the Age of Sigmar lore. I kind of try and create my own a little bit. And I think that's one of the things that I'm kind of looking for a little bit, is a game that could trigger me to just go, oh, wow, I'd really like to twist this game a little bit to suit what I would like to do at the moment. So yeah, that had nothing to do with what you were writing, Robert. I'm just blabbering on. Max Power says, I do miss Luke from Geek Gaming. So do I. Honestly, was a very nice chap, and we used to chat quite often about just, you know, he was a really easy person for me to just sort of call up and all of a sudden have a colleague ready at hand. And he was open that way. So yes, I miss Luke as well. Victor Riviera, how are you doing? Jamie Mayers says, Squall. Thank you, Jamie, for the kind donation. I really appreciate it. I'm starting to like these super chat things. Maybe I could make a living out of this, or just become an alcoholic. John Ashley Smith, how are you doing? I hope you're well. Grey Fox. Okay, we're back at the sand. Wow, I must be really behind. Sorry. Grey Fox says, having sand that you can buy is very convenient. It comes in different shades and all. Yeah, I mean, these ones, this I can sort of justify. This is, you know, essentially some kind of a red rock that's being crushed. But, you know, I can't really walk outside and find crushed red rock. or the black one would be very difficult for me. But the bag of sand, just rubbleish sand. I don't really know why I picked that one up, to be honest. Hello, Phil. How are you doing? Nurse Phil reporting late as usual. I hope Nurse Phil's patient is doing well. Space Toy, how are you? Hello, sir. We met your UK twin, Darren Latham, a couple of weeks back. Had a nice chat with him. How are you doing? I'm glad you got to meet Darren. And I hope you're well. He's I've never had a chance to talk to the man. We've only been in the same room at one point. Jamie says, I believe Luke from Geek Gaming does airsoft YouTubing now. Does he? You'll have to DM me or write somewhere in the chat where that channel is, because I had no idea. I know he did airsoft. I just didn't know he was putting it up on YouTube. John Ashley Smith says, I bought a 50-pound bag of builder's sand at a builder's yard for about $7 a dozen years ago. Serves me well. Yeah. Thing is, here, sand and stuff, gravel is really everywhere. There's these boxes all over in the streets because in winter, you need to grab some sand to throw in the roads and on the pavement and stuff like that, so that old ladies don't slip and break their bodies. Yeah. Waitzer says, think there's also something weird with magenta. Hadrian says, brown is orange in context. Exactly. Magenta is weird as well. Yeah. It's kind of like you're right. There's something weird with magenta. Crazy Oz, how are you doing? I hope you're well. Phil says, where did you get all that wonderful, colorful terrain, Alex? Well, let me tell you, if you go onto YouTube and check out this guy called 52 Miniatures and watch his latest video, write a nice thing in the comments and give it a thumbs up, then you'll find out. Bonboder 2. Hi, big fan of your videos. They're always amazing and always cheer me up. Did you manage to play Stargrave yet? I'm interested and wonder how it plays. I've played Stargrave about 3 times, I think. The first time was a bit of a disaster because at that point we used some of this terrain. Before it was a while back, before it was painted or anything. Built up this really cool table, probably on this mat, and had the tallest building in the middle, and all Stargrave is a sort of skirmish game, slightly sort of like Frostgrave, but in space. So it's sci-fi, and you have a captain and a second mate, and then a crew, and you do different missions. There's some cool things like you play against another person, but there can also be like the more ruckus you create, you can get other people that get attracted, like pirates and things like that, which then are sort of AI controlled. They're not AI controlled. They're sort of like roll a dice and they move to the closest whoever, but and your mission tends to be to go collect loot or like go to a computer and extract some data or whatever. And we were surprised at how fast you get shot. And when you get shot, usually that means you become slower. And then you need to go get this loot. And when you pick up the loot, it's really heavy, so you become even slower. And when all of that loot has ended up on like up in high buildings. So none of us actually managed to get any of the loot off of the table before we were all pretty much dead. So then we learned sort of more about how to place the terrain and where to place tokens and excuse me, and things like that. I enjoyed it, but I think at the time when I played those games, they kind of just turned into shoot fests, which probably isn't as fun as trying to maybe make them a little bit more narrative, and play more of a story than just trying to kill your opponent. Linus says, one thing else, I'm using infinity tags for my Lancer RPG. Maybe the scale is not correct, but I do not care. I didn't really quite understand that. I'm not maybe too much of... I don't know what an infinity tag is. Phil says, Alex has to paint a goblin army dressed in yellow. So many miniatures, Phil. Besides, Coopertown already did that way too many years back. Kermit says, if I may suggest a game. Okay, so we're going into game mode now. How far behind in the chat am I? Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, people. Kermit suggests The Doomed. I believe that is published by Osprey Games as well. Mini-agnostic, kit-bashed focused, very streamlined rules. I think it may be just up your alley. That's something about monsters, isn't it? I remember just seeing the art for it. Minis over money. Moonstone. How's it going with your starter box? I bought Moonstone when I was at Salute, and because I have this weird fascination of making videos for YouTube, I kind of need to figure out if I can do a video on Moonstone and if I can sort of twist that a little bit and how I can squeeze it in. But so far I've assembled the miniatures. I really like the sculpts. They're very fun. I like that. I like the fun aspect of that game. And I've been browsing through the rules and stuff, but I haven't painted anything and I haven't played anything. Martin, do you like 52 miniatures? Do you like free bricks STLs? Do you like t-shirts? So I have a website for you, Alex's web store, 52miniatures.com/store. Yeah, those, go buy t-shirts. They're selling terribly. I've sold 2 t-shirts, I think. I should probably, I've been talking to some people about making some designs and it's all just kind of not happened. But you know, who doesn't want a t-shirt? Not me. John Ashley Smith says 9/10 of my AOS Stormcast models are discontinued now, but no matter since I stopped buying new editions after 2nd. Yeah. I'm just gonna, if I play, I'm just gonna proxy with what I have, because I have friends that really play it a lot. It'd be a shame to not play them when I can. But I'm also going to try them to get to play. I'm also going to try to play some other games with them. Max is going to dip out and get his kids to bed. Have fun, Max. Benjamin says, just finished an Idols of Torment warband and Sets of Terrain. Really enjoyed your video about the Idols of Torment diorama you made. That was a really fun video to make. And I'm grateful for Jeremy for reaching out and sponsoring a video. I'd so like to make more videos just like that one, which is essentially collaborating with someone, but where that collaboration actually can happen in person. which is difficult when you your colleagues on YouTube live in like completely other parts of the world, and you can't really travel somewhere. You can't fly and then expect to ever get that money back from what YouTube generates. So it's a bit more difficult here in Sweden because there's not, that many people that I could do it with that have a channel. So then I need to find other people that don't really care about that, but it's still a really big commitment and takes, that video took weeks and weeks to make. And then, a few people watch it and then it's over. Shooter Pumpkin Shooter says, historical minis can be fun, stranger than fiction. I'm really into the idea of playing Silver Bayonet with the little 15mm miniatures. That is kind of a plan that I really would like to complete. One thing to like, I just imagine the terrain, like really small terrain, is a fun thing. Also, I've been looking into, because this miniature that I painted, if you haven't seen a video, it's like, from just a few weeks back. This is a metal miniature from Essex Games. And most of them are just these, Napoleonic soldiers holding a gun, or riding a horse, holding a sword, or whatever. But there are some different, like, I found some priests, and a few different bits and bobs. So I really kind of want to reach, but there was also lots of things that didn't have images on their website. So I kind of want to reach out to them and say, I want to build this warband for Silver Bayonet. Like, what's your weirdest miniatures? Obviously, I could 3D print, but there's something charming about using metal miniatures like this. Rubbish. I'm not saying rubbish. There's a person here called Rubbish. After a couple of spats of trying to get into different GW systems, me and a couple of friends have really fallen for the Song of Ice and Fire minigame. Yeah. Scott really likes to play that, doesn't he, Miniac? I have a weird thing with games that are based on things that I've already been acquainted with, like Star Wars or like Game of Thrones, stuff like that. Or Lord of the Rings. It's like that prior knowledge or fact stories kind of ruin my own creative input into the game or into how I would paint them. So, say for Age of Sigmar, where I'm not really interested in the lore all that much, kind of know a little bit of what's going on, but it's not a big deal for me, then I can just see the miniatures and go, wow, this could be whatever I make up. Whereas if I grab a Stormtrooper, it's just very difficult to do anything with it but paint it white. I also kind of think it's weird with the characters when it's like, am I painting an actor now, or am I painting Han Solo, or is it, the actor, or is it, who is it? And it loses a little bit of that fantasy twist for me. Song of Ice and Fire, it isn't all that much a thing, but I'll still only sort of see images from whatever I had in my head when reading the books, and then later on from the TV series, and it kind of, ruins things for me just a little bit. I know it sounds weird. It's just, yeah. Nico says, your recent Silver Bayonet video encouraged me to pick up a neglected warband. That's cool. I know, I'm glad to hear it. I know Peachy from Peachy Tips is, I believe, the channel name right now. Did a Silver Bayonet video just very recently, which I thought that was really fun because he's really into it because he is into Napoleonics, and that brings another fun level. And he just paints so fast. It's like, I painted 5 warbands already. I painted 1 15mm miniature. Darn him. Jez Hunt says, Crooced Dice minis. Bad Squddo minis, I know. Fireforge. I'm going to start writing these down. Crooced Dice, I've heard of, but right now I can't recollect if I've seen them. Bad Squddo, I have checked out for quite a few things. I wonder if I've even gotten something from Bad Squddo. Fireforge. Okay. Thank you, Jez. Jamie Mayers. Thank you for the lyrics there. Adrian says, the cloth goblins and all the sculpts from the... I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that. Habernagerie. By Statuesque miniatures are ridiculously nice to paint. Cloth goblins. Thank you, Adrian. I love the painting the hand sculpted miniatures from Redbox Games. 3 mana. The sculptor has brought about making a game system, but I've just been in it for the minis. I'm getting a lot of miniatures here. Redbox Games. For anyone watching, in hindsight, I'm going to probably just write these in the description of the video once this is all done, for people to be able to check out. I do, topics like this is obviously for me because I want to just broaden my own horizons, and I'm just curious of what is out there and what you guys think. But I also hope by talking more about other games, then we can spread the word about the fact that other game systems exist and are out there. I painted a Conquest miniature, by the way. It's going to be in the next video. Look at that big fella. This is a fun. Wait, can we have a Conquest miniature next to my 15mm Napoleonic fella? It's kind of funny. Christoph Asmus, how are you doing? Hi, everyone. Hello, Christoph. This is not mentioned. The Drowned Earth is my favorite for years by now. When I did the video on being a little bit pissed off about what happened with my Age of Sigmar miniatures, a lot of comments on that video were on a game called Hobgoblin. Can that be correct? Again, please like the video if you wish. We're 121 lovely people here now, and we've got 72 thumbs up. So please just thumb up because it just helps bring other folks in. If historical interests you, Chain of Command is awesome. I think you quite easily use the system for any genre. I don't think I'm taking quite the plunge into historical. I dig sort of the mix, the fantasy twists. So like Silver Bayonet would be Excuse me. This is still my plague, which is still plaguing me. But I do like the fantasy twists and the sci-fi twists. I obviously think historicals can be cool, but then at the same time, I don't know when when history starts to become fantasy. But I do have that sort of weird thing. It's not necessarily weird, but when you sort of reenact things that have happened for real, and all of a sudden war becomes real, and you playing bolt action, and you realize that, oh, here's this, squad of soldiers that actually did something terrible, or killed my granddad or whatever. Can't really go there quite yet. Michael says, my flavor of the month are Test of Honor and Moonstone. Indeed, Moonstone, I really want to try. Ian Latimer, how are you doing? Morning, Alex. Nice to see you live. Fire is on, tea is in the hand here in Kiwi land. I'm finally managing to do some painting and building. Your recent video gave me a kickstart. Thank you. Glad to hear it, Ian. And it's or Ian. Sorry, probably Ian. Ian. Anyway, it's good to see you, and I'm glad the videos help. It kind of is the main reason why I do them. Sexy Gandalf, how you doing, Sexy Gandalf? You seem to be a prime candidate for Carnevale. Oh, damn! I hope I can last through this stream. Carnevale. Indeed. Didn't patron Adrian dip his toes in Carnevale? You're here, Adrian. And then I haven't really seen much of it. So many games here. I should be writing down the games as well, if not only for a... This is going to be a long list. Yeah. Post Cynical says, I've got into resin printing, smaller designers like Saint Decent. Yes. Kelsey is a wonderful sculptor that I admire greatly. I did a video on Silver Bayonet quite a while back that has this cinematic intro. And then I built a diorama based around the story of Silver Bayonet, and I used two of Saint Decent or Kelsey's. They call Mage Hunters, I think, as my sort of Silver Bayonet troops. And so I have, the thought has crossed my mind, like I could do 15mm and then just print her miniatures smaller, but I'm not really sure how well that translates. But I'm also just kind of like the idea of using old school metal minis for that. Steven says, take your Stormcast count to one-page rules. Yes. I don't know why. Like there's so many people. Like every other comment on that video that I made was pretty much, just play one-page rules. And there's a lot of people out there that seem to be playing one-page rules, rule sets, and really appreciate them. I don't know why it doesn't attract me that much. I think the company, it's great that, they do what they do. But I think I appreciate people creating completely new games with new ideas, maybe with their own stories and all of that. Whereas I feel one-page rules is quite obviously an example of just going like, well, this is 40k, but our rules and a bit simpler. Or this is Age of Sigma, but our rules and a bit simpler. And so whereas maybe the skills in writing rules is really good, I kind of miss the originality of creating your own thing. And I'll be honest to maybe not having looked into them all that much when it comes to if they write their own stories. I have used their miniatures in the past, like STLs, because I think some of them are really cool. Like some of my Stormcast are actually kit bashed with one-page rules, released miniatures. And don't get me wrong, I think they're great. I just personally kind of appreciate when someone creates something utterly original. Maximilian, how are you doing? I saw this one come up and wanted to mention Wasteland Warfare, Fallout, and Call to Arms, Elder Scrolls. Models are monopose, but offer a different system that isn't likely to change much. Yes. Again, I mentioned before the sort of I'm not a huge fan of the sort of reenactment thing, like playing Fallout just because you like Fallout, or playing Star Wars just because you like Star Wars. I kind of like my miniatures game to be just the miniatures game. It's just weird me. I really dig Fallout. I haven't got my Fallout mug right now. I really do want to make a Fallout. I haven't done many of those dioramas in a while. I had this little project where I make dioramas with a Space Marine in them, a sort of 30k Horus Heresy Space Marine. I just think they're fun. If you're in Sweden or in Stockholm and you want to see them with your own eyes, you can go to Alpha Spel, where I'm now exhibiting 5 of them or whatever. And there's obviously videos on me making them. I would like to make one with a Fallout theme. I just haven't figured it out yet. D13 Hobby says, new game by Snarling Badgers, Death Wizards looks interesting. Think of games you might want be able to apply your models to. I haven't looked into Death Wizards. I know last game, the space game. Adam sent me like the PDF and stuff, so I could check it out. I haven't received anything for Death Wizards, so I actually know nothing about it apart from like watching the trailer video that Adam Tabletop Minions made for it. So I know it's about sort of necromancers and stuff, but it's definitely cool with you know, playing games created by people we enjoy on YouTube. Beer Monster says, check out Hobgoblin from Planet Smasher Games. That was the one, Hobgoblin. A lot of people seemed to be recommending Hobgoblin, and I'd never heard about it. I'm now subscribing to the channel of the fellow that has written Hobgoblin, but I haven't had a chance to like dig into it. But I was surprised at the amount of people that were recommending Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin. Henry, good evening. How are you doing, Henry? I just my chat just scrolled everywhere and I saw a super chat. I'm shamelessly, this is ANR86. I'm shamelessly gonna plug Warzone Eternal here. Is that the new Warzone, or are you plugging the old Warzone? Because I love the old Warzone miniatures. I have been trying to collect them slightly. Is Warzone Eternal the new one? Regardless, thank you very much for the donation. We're almost into 2 beers now. People stopped. Like, I feel like there was an agreement reached among all you folk. Like, after we reached the monetary level of 1 beer, everyone stopped because they were like, we shouldn't. He said something there about drinking too much beer. We shouldn't be. So I mean, I could do other things with the beer, like buying sand. I could buy more sand. Yes, maybe a bit of waste of money. I'm just being a fool. I'm utterly grateful for your donations. Alexander says, have you tried Malifaux? So different because you play which playing cards and cheat fate mechanics. I've looked into. I remember a while back I was very tempted to getting some of the miniatures because they feel different and cool. But I also, at times stop myself thinking, not more miniatures. But I definitely have Malifaux. It feels like they're doing a sort of a bit more of a special thing that is tempting. Jonathan Nilsson, since you're into doing something more story-based with Stargrave, do you happen to play any TTRPG? I'm really bad at acronyms. Is that an acronym? I don't know. Letters that are supposed to mean something. TTRPG, tabletop role-playing games. I don't play any tabletop role-playing games, no. I should widen my sphere of people to play with. Like, seriously, most of my time is spent in this bunker making videos. And the rest of my time is spent making money doing my job every now and again. And then the rest of the time is spent with my son. And I do have a hard time finding a balance in finding the time to like meet people and play games, because the first thing that happens when I have like a spare moment is work on videos, because they take so darn long to make. And I have fun making them, But gaming definitely suffers because of it. Not necessarily making the videos, but just I haven't found a good. I should have like a set, every other Tuesday I play a game or whatever, some kind of a thing that forces me into playing more games, because it's really easy to just say, no, I'll just go to the bunker and write a script. Been writing a darn script for 2 days now. It's driving me nuts. It's not even very funny. Pulsegate, I just hit 1,100 subscribers on YouTube. Congratulations. And it's kind of frustrating how slow the growing process is. Do you have any advice on how to grow a channel? Initially, when you're on a smaller level, you can really benefit by collaborating with other creators on YouTube, not necessarily trying to find someone that's has a lot of subscribers, but doing collaborative videos just means that okay, so there's 4 or 5 of us now, we can share subscribers basically. That's a good thing. The other one is just to keep on going, and along sort of my channel at the moment is growing very, very slowly. It's like kind of plateaued but also YouTube has been vastly different the past year. Sorry about this YouTube talk. I'll try and be fast. But as I've been running this channel, there has been a few instances that have been big boosts. The biggest one was when Miniac was still making his video series on like creators that I admire or whatever. And so basically he made a video telling people to go watch my videos. And that at that point in time, that worked really, really well. Now I don't really know what works. The biggest thing is just to keep on going, because the more videos you make, the better you'll be at it. You'll also find your style more and more, which will make it more clear of who you are and why people want to watch your videos. And so kind of like don't give up. And congratulations to 1,100 subscribers. Mark from Montana: have ventured out from 54mm to 28mm and tried Wargames Atlantic for a War Transformed at Alex's suggestion. Love them, and my son and I are painting a couple of small armies. Great stuff, Mark. I'm about to order some of those, or get my hands on some of them. Plastic World War I figures from Wargames Atlantic. They also actually do. So Wargames Atlantic makes sort of historical miniatures. They have World War I, a few World War II things. There's more historical things like Celts and other history, Romans and whatnot. All sort of plastic kits. They also have a digital side of things. You can find them on My Mini Factory. Where if you have a 3D printer, you can get sort of more special things, and some of it's really fun. And they actually have a set of like weird World War I conversion bits for their regular World War I plastic kits. It's like different heads and things like that then match up to the hard plastic kits. And so my start with the War Transformed will probably be there, and then see what happens. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a game called The War Transformed, which is a weird World War I game that I've made, that I'm making a gaming table for, and obviously want to play games on. Kermit says, yes, the Doomed is 2 or 1 players versus monsters. You can go against each other, but then you'll likely lose. The Doomed. I know I've seen the books. Phil says, Silver Bayonet keeps playing as a really narrative game, but I suspect a great love of Hornblower and Sharp is where the ruckus. Raucous. That was a word I didn't know. Narrative comes from. Yeah, you're talking about peachy tips. Yes. Einar says, okay, now here you are again, Einar. Sorry, because I saw your comment before because of the chat jumping around, and now I'm back to when you joined in. Has anyone mentioned Warzone yet? We did, so I'm sure when I get down in the chat, I'll see it when you've answered my question, if it's the old Warzone or the new Warzone. I'm once again shilling my favorite game system, Dead Zone from Mantic, a really fluid game that plays nice on a 2x2 for area. I bought some Dead Zone miniatures when I was starting to kit bash miniatures for Stargrave. And just because of the quality of those miniatures, which I found a little bit lacking. They're kind of like the soft plastic with not really very sharp details. The ones that I got back then sort of just turned me off a little bit, which has nothing to do with the game, obviously. It's just, these things happen. But I know that Dead Zone exists, yes. John Ashley Smith, did someone already ask how your wargaming table was coming along? Is it finished? Any games on it yet? No, it's not finished. It's where is it? There's a piece over there and there's a piece over there. One's painted black, and it essentially looks exactly like it did in whenever the last video on it was made. I built that lighthouse for the table. I printed lots of other sort of this is from another sort of trench system. Printed more bits because I want to make a kind of like a little fortress thing on a hill, because I had the initial idea that there was going to be a big wreck of a ship, and I scratched that idea, and instead there's going to be like two hills, one with the lighthouse on it and one with sort of like some kind of little bunker / sandbag trench complex. I'm also thinking of maybe trying to mix it up so that it, could it originally have been like a stone castle on a cliff, like an old medieval castle or something. So that's next in line. I haven't stopped, and I'm not procrastinating. I just needed to do some other things in between, because it's kind of how my mind works. Sigurd Olasen says Bolt Action 3rd edition around the corner. Yes. They sent me that book, I think, didn't they? I think so. As a review copy. I can't remember. A dear friend of mine plays a lot of Bolt Action, but I'm not quite ready. I don't think I'll do real historicals. Wild Dice Roller, how are you doing? Hi, late to the party. Currently just sat down to paint my final crew member for my Junker Scrapper crew for Stargrave. Perfect timing for a live stream. I appreciate it and welcome. Anna Karin, how are you doing? Good evening. Greetings from a cloudy and rainy west coast of Sweden. I hope it's not raining outside here. I don't actually know, because I haven't looked up. I've been in a bunker since 9 o'clock this morning. John Ashley Smith says, I like metal miniatures too, cleaning them up. For painting, not so much. I kind of don't mind it. I found that it's, the flush is relatively easy to scrape off with a hobby knife. So I actually don't really mind the cleanup, but I guess it depends on what kind of mini and what kind of metal. Pulsegate Gaming says, War Machine just partnered with Steamforge Games, and they're going to be pushing it out again in hopes that they can get back to where they were. It's pretty fun, and the art and the style is great. I kind of agree with you there. I remember when I just decided to get back into painting miniatures and that. What's this thing? I keep seeing myself going, what's with all this hair? And I haven't looked at War Machine since then, but I remember it triggering my interest just because of that sort of steampunk vibe, which I think is really cool. Hello, Hoan. How are you doing? I'm terribly sorry how I pronounced your name. Mark says Turnip 28. Here's my Turnip 28 mini. Yeah. I really want to hang out with Max, who makes Turnip 28. We met briefly at Salute, the convention, and I was like, I needed to go do something. And so I talked to him a little shortly, and it was like, I'll be right back, and we can talk more. And then, it didn't happen. These are obviously also these official Turnip 28 miniatures are also sculpted by previously mentioned Saint Decent. I'm writing lists to write in the in the comment section. And there's so many now that people will be like, oh, I'll just go play Warhammer. Republican F28 War always changes. Never heard of it. Miniature agnostic, but there's a full-blown 40k faction converter in the book. You use the same easy-to-learn rules for large battle skirmishes and narrative in 28 missions. Never heard of that one, Mr. Republican. Vector says Forbidden Psalm. That's a favorite, isn't it? Like, what do you guys think is the most fun thing with the game? Is it the rules or the setting or the miniatures? Because like I'm both. I really appreciate the fact that sort of with Silver Bayonet, it's miniature agnostic. I could play it with whatever I want. And on the other hand, like I was looking into this Conquest here, which hasn't been mentioned yet, from Parabellum, and I just kind of like the sort of world building and the fact that, you know, I wouldn't proxy miniatures for that game. I'd use the miniatures they make for that game, and I'm always a little bit torn in between the two. Travis Denny says, good evening, Alex. Just wanted to thank you once again for your content. Thank you for watching. Love the Tropical recent episode and paint schemes treatment. Nice looking stuff. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you. Neil Barton, Mantic Games have created incredible ranges of games and have enjoyed getting into Kings of War for fantasy and Dead Zone for sci-fi. Vector says, Forbidden Psalm is rules light and miniature agnostic. Phil says, I love Infinity game, but it's hard learning curve playing against seasoned players. Beautiful true scale minutes, though. I agree with you, Phil, that these Infinity miniatures are fabulous. And if plans go as they're supposed to be going, I will be test playing Infinity this summer. And if plans go well, I'll also be trying out Warcrow, which is going to be released in August, I think, which is the same people from Corvus Belli that make Infinity, is their new fantasy skirmish game. I had a look at the miniatures and I thought it looked cool because it's kind of like, because I like the Infinity models, and this was like Infinity type sculpting, but it's fantasy. Maximilian says, with the stuff from Fallout, there's a lot of lore appropriate schemes. For example, X01, for example, has the basic metallic and extra militarized and soft drink adverse. Yeah. Exactly, Maximilian. And I think that's sometimes what I don't look for in a game, because it kind of becomes like playing a historical game. Like there's already a predecessor of is that how you say it? Doesn't matter. Or like, this is the way it's supposed to look, and so I feel less free when thinking out about sort of color schemes and things. Even though I actually, you know, like the Fallout setting, I think it's awesome. You know, it's really, really cool. I just don't know if I'd like to put in the time in just sort of replicating something that already exists, if you get my point. Post Cynical says, Miscast has released some STLs of his stuff too. Very funky. Yes, good old Trent. Casper says, Burrows and Badgers seem super neat. It rings a bell. Beautiful one-page metal squirrel knights and other animals in the same theme. This does ring a bell. I think I've Burrows and Badgers. Phil says, Conquest T-Rex rider, Alex. Indeed. The orcs in Conquest ride dinosaurs, which is pretty epic. Silver Scratch Built Production says, I play Marvel Crisis Protocol, great miniatures, and you don't need hundreds of models. The game comes from Atomic Mass Games. I do know about it. That's a larger scale, right? Which is also something it's just because this happened, the Dawn Conquest mini. And it kind of allured me a little to be like, well, this is kind of, in a way, dumb. Playing a fantasy game with, I think Conquest, for example, is 38mm scale. Which means you can't use them for, like, if you spend money buying tons of miniatures, and then you can't use them in other sort of as proxies for other games because the scale is wrong. And to a point, maybe you can't even use the terrain that you've got because it's the wrong scale. So you have to make new terrain. But then on the other hand, it was like, well, if I want to get into something new, maybe it'd be fun to like have something that is vastly different looking, which would be going into something that is a different scale. I'm not saying I'm just going to jump ship and never paint a 28 miniature again. I'm just, if I'm going to get into like a War Transformed and Silver Bayonet and whatever something else, then, maybe I can also get into something that is of a different scale. And then we can talk again in about 25 years when I painted all these miniatures and I can tell you all about it. Stretch, how are you doing, Stretch? Hello, Alex. Sorry I can't watch you live tonight, but it's been a day and I have to cook dinner for Dad. Press like, everyone. Indeed, press like, everyone, and good to see you, Stretch. We're actually got more likes than viewers right now, so that's a good thing. Jez says Hobgoblin. See, Hobgoblin is popping up again. I really should look into Hobgoblin because all these people can't be wrong. Paper Tabletop says, hello, I'm racing home to see if I can still catch this live. I hope you can. Slayer, I love painting the metal miniatures from North Star Miniatures from the ranges of Shadow Deep line. North Star Miniatures makes lots of great miniatures. Kind of got that little bit of a simplest, I'm not going to say simpler, but sometimes when you paint things like Infinity, you go like, wow, that's lots of tiny little details. How am I going to paint them? And then there's other miniatures that are simpler, which doesn't mean that they look worse. That actually are really enjoyable to paint. Stephen Ballman says, what happened to your Turnip 28 cult? Did I have one? It's funny. I did a video on that, painting this miniature, which was essentially because Max reached out and said, we got a Kickstarter going for these miniatures, just letting you know. And I thought, well, Max is really cool and I adore Kelsey. So I wanted to do something, but I couldn't fit anything kind of into my schedule at that time. So what I did was I just painted this miniature for 28 minutes because it's a Turnip 28 miniature, and then just posted that as a video. I'm not speaking, there's just music, and I just paint for 28 minutes. And it did pretty well. Like, people are still watching it. Kind of breaks my heart a little bit. It's like when you put 2 to 3 weeks into making the regular videos, so much hard work and whatnot, and then you just sit down and paint the miniature for 28 minutes and press like publish, and it does all right. But I don't know about, did I have a cult? Was that my cult? Okay, should we start one? It'd be kind of cool to have a cult. I've got a proper basement. It feels like if you have a cult, you should either have a basement or a bunker, slash basement, or like some kind of ruined temple. And then I guess dancing around naked is optional. Then there's a sacrificial bit, which is could get a bit uncomfortable. But yeah. Jonathan Nilsson says, I agree with the weirdness of playing historical war games based on reality, especially games based on very recent conflicts, like miniature soldiers fighting in Afghanistan. I agree. I have a bit of a hard time with it. Like, I can also kind of understand the people that say, that I think there's a difference between painting the miniatures or like making dioramas and playing the games. So that's one thing. A lot of people paint historical miniatures, like more recent World War things, as a sort of homage. Like, I want to honor troops that served during the Second World War, so I want to paint this really nice tank. I can kind of appreciate that. But when you sort of turn it into a game and you have like, well, here's this squadron of SS soldiers that actually, killed lots of Jews. But right now, I'm playing with them on my tabletop. Feels weird. I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing it. You do exactly what you want with your hobby. This is just personal things. Michael says, I find that lately I play more for the cinematic aspect than for the competition aspect. A win is less important than a great feat. I can appreciate that, definitely. Meta ad infinitum. I do think it's all right to do ancient Viking or medieval. Ultimately, you can play a similar ward band or random warriors traveling around Viking fantasy without worrying too much about poor taste. I agree. That's why I said, like, where does history turn into fantasy, kind of? Because we also create these, like, Roman soldiers are obviously they would, would like to be conquered by Romans, them like saltering your earth and probably raping your wife and whatever? Most probably not. But we've also, like, it's become its own, like, just the symbolism, the way they look, the helmets, the standards, all these things is kind of like it's made up. Because it's kind of like fantasy in a way. And I'd definitely be fine playing a historical game with Romans in it. I think it more comes into when, like, a bit more recent events. Juan says, I don't want to play Warhammer either. I mean, the great benefits to Warhammer is the exceptionally well-made miniatures. This is superiorly sculpted, some of them. It's just kind of some of the best stuff that is out there. And the fact that a lot of places, that's sort of what people play. It's the most common game. So if you go to a game store and want to find, like, random people to play with, the likelihood of investing your money into playing, like, Warhammer is that you're sort of guaranteed to have people to play against. But I'm not, I'm not a stranger to, like, picking any game and then forcing people into playing it. And I just think that there's so much other things out there, and it's not getting enough spotlight. It's more and more, the more sort of, especially on YouTube, because more and more creators are, like, making their own games and stuff. And so all of a sudden focus is sort of pulled a little bit away from Warhammer, but it's still, like, the big elephant in the room. That's the weird. That's not the right terminology for that thing, but. And I've got nothing against the game or people that play it, obviously not. I just think it's really cool that there's so many games out there. And it's a shame that they don't get more spotlight. And it's very much based on the fact that if you don't, like from a YouTube perspective, it's very much based on the fact that if you do things on Warhammer, you just get so many more views. And that trickles down to getting, paid more from YouTube, and sponsors pay you more because more people watch your videos. And I'd kind of be I think I could say that if you want to make a living out of making miniature content on YouTube, you should only be painting Warhammer. It's kind of like it as a guarantee to be able to pay your bills. If you don't, you just, but I'm also thinking that to a degree, I'll try and not do that, because I just think there's too much fun things out there to bother about the money, especially when you guys keep buying me beer. Has anyone bought me any more beer? Gabriel says, I'd like to recommend Hobgoblin. See, Hobgoblin is here again. Simple rank and flank, tasty game, movement trays. You could easily put your Stormcast armies over. Hobgoblin's back. Adrian says, got stuck with... See, where am I in this chat? Oh my God. I'm terribly sorry, everyone. Grey Fox, thank you. See, I'm missing all these lovely people supporting me. Thank you, Grey Fox, for the donation. You're very kind. He says, you make fun videos. Thanks. Well, I appreciate it. And again, I'm sorry for being so far behind in the chat. Adrian says, got stuck with Carnevale because I have to make the buildings and boards, but looking forward to getting back into it as the rules are lovely. Yeah, I remember, Adrian, you were making these square tile things, which I thought was very cool. And then I didn't see them again. And I thought, keep at it, Adrian. Owen says, I don't want to offend the game designers, but Warhammer looks lame. I agree. I don't want to offend any game designers either. I think there's a lot of cool miniatures, definitely. And, the sculptors are awesome. I just think there's just lots of other awesome things around. Solaris says, let's face it, one-page rules is bootleg Games Workshop. I'm not going to say it, but that's kind of, yeah, or no, or moving on. I'm not going to start digging my own grave here. I think maybe I just did. Pepper Tabletop says, I really like how simple Warcry is to pick up and play without having too much pre-game work. I haven't played Warcry. There's another problem I have. My mind. These are not problems, by the way. But my mental image of playing tabletop war games is having armies, because it's cool. And then the fact is that painting armies is a pain, and playing the games usually is a pain, because so much rules go into it. But it's such a huge part of my vision of playing tabletop games, whereas skirmish games are, in fact, very smart options, because you can play more skirmish games because you can paint minis for different games because you don't need as many of them. And sometimes rules are a bit swifter, or gameplay is just a bit swifter because you don't have as many Scott Sparks says Malifaux has fantastic models. Imagine steampunk, Victorian horror, and the Wild West. Yes, I've checked out the models. Never bought any. I've heard they're kind of tricky to assemble. Am I assuming correctly? It's just something I've heard. Pato says Conquest is pretty cool. I haven't played it yet, but I'm painting a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I kind of like what I see. There's two versions. There's a rank and flank game, and then there's a sort of more skirmishy style game. I just think the concept is cool. I think it's cool that they make hard plastic miniatures. Yeah. Space Station Zero. That's right. About 3 hours ago, I was talking about the game called Space Station Zero, and I'm sorry for being this late to the party. Ignacio says, hey there, just joining the stream. Have you tried Infinity? It's held to assemble the models, but they have cool designs. Yes, I've got some Infinity models that I painted in the past. And hopefully, I said this recently a few times, but I'm trying to organize some kind of playthrough of the game this summer. I've heard the rules are complicated, but I don't know. Carol says, I have the impression Hobgoblin is marketed as Warhammer fantasy game that plays in such a way that players start from turn 2. Okay. I don't think I really follow you there. What that implies. Please explain. Rob says you may want to check out Hametsu from Black Site Studios, Samurai Ninja post-apocalypse fantasy. I mean, that's a cool setting. Samurai ninjas in the exploded future. Jeremiah M says, you buy sand? I live in the desert. We have lots. Yeah. I was kind of joking about the fact that I bought sand. It's kind of symbolical to be able to show it in a video for people that don't live in deserts. Like, you can buy it, but sand is, yeah. Bill making stuff. How are you doing? I'm glad to see you're being very articulate here. Obviously, we should all be playing Bill's game Bangarang and kit bash our own bots for it. I hope you're doing well, Bill. I kind of almost feel a little bit guilty about being way too sort of like my synapses were just all over the place when we were at Salute. And, you know, I met Bill and I would have very much enjoyed to just hang out, but instead I was just running around. And I kind of feel like I brushed you off, Bill. I don't know why I feel that, but I didn't. I want to hang out. Nick says the production of your videos is always top tier. Thank you very much. I'm glad you say that because I do put the effort in. Matt's made a funny yellow fella holding a carrot or something. No, it's a thumbs up. From here, I just look like a carrot with the green. Yeah. Fensis says Bushido seems to be going strong. There's so many games. I know Bushido. Jonathan Nilsson says tabletop role-playing games. Yeah. Oh, we're back. We're only past. Okay. That's where my passion for minis and terrain started, making stuff for Dungeons and Dragons. I want to try different RPGs and war games, but I never find time. I mean, it kind of becomes apparent that it's kind of important to find something that you really, really like, because there's so many games, and it's really easy to be like, I could play Moonstone or Carnevale or Hobgoblin or the Doomed or 28 or Burrows and Badgers or what's his name's Bill's game. Sorry, Bill. Bangarang in the Gutterlands. And like the list just goes on. And then, the fact is that, at least for me, even just painting up like a little skirmish force is, it takes time. And if you want to build terrain and so it's kind of dangerous to be like, I should do this one and that one and this one. Which in a way is why mini agnostic games can be a blessing, because you can have like, well, here's my sci-fi force. Oh, for the other game, here's my sci-fi force. Oh, that third game, here's my sci-fi force. And just use the miniatures you've got. But also it's really fun to just get sucked into, here's my miniature that I can only play for that one game. And I think it's really cool. I might not be making sense right now, but, it's all the potential beer is already going up to my head. Rob Baxter, you might want to chat with Ash over at Guerrilla Miniature Games. He's found a healthy way to balance painting, playing, and industry commentary as part of his video content. I think Ash does a great job. I don't think I can ever have a sort of healthy balance if I continue to make the type of videos that I make. Just because literally the time it takes to make them. I'm not saying this a lot, but and I'm not saying I'm the only one doing it at all. Like, it's just that if I make a just sort of most like my last video on painting this terrain, is literally 2 weeks of full-time work, and I need to put out a video pretty much every other week. But I also have work as a photographer. And on top of that, lots of the things for that video was filmed during 3 years. Snippets here and there of me doing things. So I'm filming things now that might be used in a video in 3 years. Like, it's this kind of exaggerated way of making videos that maybe is not suitable. I don't have time to do live streams. I don't have time to do Twitch. I don't have time to be in a podcast with other cool creators. I don't, and I don't really mind that. But it is a little bit more difficult to find that healthy balance that you talk about between the different things when you go just full on into video creation mode. And I don't want to appear sort of full of myself. It's just my choice. That's just like how I really enjoy the process. That's how I want to make my videos. And I just wish there was 2 of me, or 3, so that someone could like 5, because then I could have one making the coffee. And this place is an awful mess. You'd be surprised at what it looks like on the other side of that camera. So I'd like another one that just cleans up. Maybe one that writes the emails. And then one of me that does the filming, and another one that maybe does the editing. That'd be good. We have a cloning machine. Anyone? Critical Focus channel. Good evening, sires. Good evening to you. We've got Pedro saying infinity again. Not you, Pedro, but mentioned again. Domino says infinity. A lot of people say infinity. As I said, I'm going to look into infinity, hopefully. I'm kind of chatting to Corvus Belly about it, but we'll see where that lands. David Nandrin says, I recommend Space Weirdos. Mini agnostic, fast-paced, and fun. $5 or so on War Games Vault. Phil says, back from dealing with my hungry wife. What did I miss? I mean, I think we solved a lot of issues going on in the world right now. I invented fusion technology, and because that was such hard work, I also kind of run out of tea. So now I haven't got anything to occupy myself with while trying to think of what to say. Gary Jensen, hi Alex, what a pleasant surprise. Hello Gary, how are you doing? Jonathan Davis says, I'm painting Relic Blade 2-player set right now. Everything in this game is designed by one dude, Sean Sutter. Great metal minis. I'm a fan of Sean. I've never met him, never talked to him, but what he does is absolutely awesome. He seems to have cloned himself, definitely. Ian Latimer says, just came across a Dune Miniatures game from Crow Industries. I know it's not a film game thing like Stargrave, but it's the visuals for me. Easy scenery and high beaches to rob for sand. Is that the new, like, isn't there one just released pretty recently? Just kind of like board game, tabletop game-ish thing. Jungle Camper says, Warcrow looks fine. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Phil says, Gaslands is so much fun. You and your Gaslands, Phil. Car Wars for the new century. Maximilian, I'd argue the most fun thing about a game is how the players interact with the board and the objective. That's why I love Kill Team. I should find new friends. Just kidding. Pulsegate Gaming. Every game out there has minis that are fun to paint. I think what it really comes down to is having a game that is fun to play and has lore that inspires you to be creative. Yeah. I don't, yeah. Rules are obviously massively important, of course. For me, setting is also massively important, but in theory, you can change the setting easier to suit you than you can the rules if you don't know how to write rules. And miniatures can always be just swapped out to whatever you like, in a way. Yeah. Bayushi-sama, hello, how are you? Iron Lungfish says, Conquest First Blood is a fun skirmish version of the full game. Yep. I kind of like it, like the minis as a round base, but then this round base slots into a square base. So that for you use exactly the same miniatures, but for the skirmish version, you just pop it out of the square tray thing and use the round base. Thought that was kind of neat. Dylan says, emergent narratives are really fun in Forbidden Psalms. Lots of fails and swingy dice rolls keep you engaged. Have played 20 plus games and I've never had a bad time. Lots of laughs. Yeah, someone asked me about Stargrave, what they thought, and I thought that was kind of swingy as well, in a way, because of the dice rolls. Maybe not as swingy as what you're talking about, but I just wanted to say that to whoever asked me previously about Stargrave. Bayushi-sama says, love your videos. There are plenty of miniature agnostic games. There certainly is. The list is growing. And thank you. I appreciate the fact that you let me know that you like the videos. Another favorite of mine is Dystopian Wars. If you like tiny steampunk naval airships, man, this is I opened Pandora's box, I believe. Worth looking into for the minis alone. Designs are quality are superb. Dystopian Wars. Adrian says, I do like an interesting setting for a game, especially if you inevitably have to build a load of stuff for it. Also games with good, interesting, fun mechanics. Yes. See, that's the thing with the setting, isn't it? I mean, that's sort of what drives you to finish what you need to be able to play the game. Like, if you're really into the setting, then you get a nice story and idea of how you're going to paint your miniatures, which means making painting your miniatures more fun. And if you have a really strong, like, idea of what the setting is, the same goes for the terrain. And so if you really appreciate all of that, then actually getting things done to be able to play with them is swifter than if you just go like, meh, I'll just pick this mini and paint it red. Phil says, ooh, Warcrow rules are up for download. Are they? I need to check into that. I didn't know that. Phil also said some of the minis look a bit elven, though, if you get my drift. Phil is a dear patron, and he doesn't like elves. He thinks they're a waste of space, essentially. Jonathan Davis says, this is not a test, has a second edition coming out. Black Site Studios should have news coming out soon. There's a lot of things coming out of Black Site Studios. Anna says, my earlier comment will probably be lost here like tears in the rain, so I'll sum it up. Warzone Eternal is the new edition. Rules are available free now. Models will be available sometimes Q4. Okay, that I need to check out, because you have to correct me here, but wasn't there a recent resurrection of Warzone in the form of a Kickstarter or something like that? Is that this one? So there was a Kickstarter, and then there will be, because I was personally a little bit disappointed in whatever it was I saw recently that was new Warzone. I didn't really feel like the cool style of the old stuff had been translated into cool new stuff. It felt a bit sort of like generic type miniatures. I might be wrong, and I don't want to upset you. But I am very fond of the old Warzone. I've sort of got lots of the old books and things, and I like the art, and I think it's all cool. And I didn't feel like that had, because to me that it almost feels more grim than and dark than 40K in a way. And I didn't really feel that had translated. I would have liked sort of like even more extreme grimdark, like some of the weird World War I games you see come out, like a Trench Crusade or something like that, which is just so utterly dystopian. And I dig that. This is just personal commentary. So, excuse me. Philip Dennick says, I always find that in a game with very present style, I tend toward the raider scavenging type, so I can still get away with the crazy paint jobs I want to do. Gary says, I play Necromunda. This is the first time Necromunda has been mentioned. I wanted a simple second game. Blood Red Skies interested me, but I feel weird turning World War II into entertainment. Okay. No one has actually mentioned Necromunda yet. Does anyone play Necromunda apart from Philip? I mean, Gary. I'm mixing you up. Sorry, Gary Jensen. Me Buster says, hello, long time enjoyer, first time live viewer. Well, welcome. I always envision myself doing these live streams more often because I really like connecting with you guys. And apparently you're also paying for my beer, which is nice. But yeah, it hasn't really been doable. It's the damn hair. Look at it. I'm coming across as vain now just because I'm fiddling with my hair. We'll just leave it. And I'm losing my voice. But the whole sort of single parent thing is a bit of a thing as well, isn't it? Trying to find the time to chat with you guys in the middle of, like, what's this, 10 o'clock over here on a Friday evening. Kind of proves the fact that I don't play games with friends. I hang out with my friends on the internet instead. And I'd like to do that more. But I really would like to do a live stream every other week, at least. But it just hasn't really happened. Frankie Stain says it's a great time to jump into mini agnostic games. There's real explosion happening right now. It feels like there's a great game explosion in general. A lot of people are creating games, pushing out games, and sort of more lately, content creators. A lot of them have been making games like Dear Bill. Are you still here, Bill? I probably won't see because I'm so way behind in the chat. And I think that's really cool. I just wonder when I'm supposed to be able to play all the games. Jeremiah says naked dancing is not optional. Oh, okay. So we have a cult going, and naked dancing is not optional. So now we just need to find the ruined temple. And I'm guessing then, I mean, can we at least have like blindfolds in that case? You know, if there's going to be the naked dancing, do we actually have to, you know, can we? Yeah. King of the Cheese, how are you doing? Hello, Alex. I'm a bit late, but here I am. Hope life is treating you well. It is. I'm just kind of recovering from being a bit under the weather, and yeah, so my voice is. I've got a bit of a thing. Otherwise, I'm great. I painted a mini. Get to hang out with you guys. Fabulous. Phoenix says, in my honest opinion, historical licensed games will always have issues with longevity, whereas fictional worlds have much more latitude to come out with new stuff. I mean, yes and no. You can always, I mean, I know one of the things that people who play sort of like World War II stuff, or even better, you know, Napoleonics or Roman things, is that, you know, whatever happened is not going to change. If you've painted this specific group of Napoleonic cavalry, no one's going to go in and say, "Oh, no, we're taking these out of the game," because you can't, because it's history. So they kind of need to stay. I don't know if that's got anything to do with the longevity of the game, but it kind of has to do with the longevity of your, you know, what you put into it. If you paint things for it, you will always be able to use it. Phil says, my grandfather was in World War II, and I play bolt action and tanks. My son was in Afghanistan, and I was the only fear you feel every single day without fail, and I will never play a game on that conflict. There you go, Phil. Me Buster says, a friend and I are getting into AOS 4.0 because we both love to paint some of those minis. I hope the new edition enables you to use your wonderful minis if you end up still having the drive. I mean, I definitely want to try it, and I can always just proxy things. I want to try it because friends play it, and I want to play with my friends. Frankenstein says, you really have to be an advocate for games. If there isn't a community for a game you want to play, you need to create one, which isn't impossible. It's just hard. Or you can just talk about it online and hope that people think you're actually doing it. Neil Barton says, circling back to Dead Zone and Mantic games, they've made huge improvements in sculpting and casting. Minis are now on par with any other manufacturer. Okay, that's cool. So then I want to have a new look, because I was just, as I said, a little bit disappointed with the things that I got when I got them, but that was old stuff. Neil is also pumped for the future of Warzone. That's cool. Whoa, my chat just jumped, and I was back in the future there for a while, and I've seen that Gary Jensen, thank you for all the lovely videos, Gary, and I thank you, Gary, for the kind donation. I really appreciate it. Jonathan Nielsen says, enough beer at the cheap pub, and it is indeed. Thank you, Jonathan. You guys are very kind. Can we stop bumping this up into like rent territory? Can you pay my rent now? No. Okay. I always just joke these things away, and I don't mean it. I really appreciate your support, guys and girls, and naked dancing cult members. Adrian says, I don't really have any interest in straight historicals. My granddad could potentially be in Weird War 1 and 2 feels fine though. Same. Landon Paints, love your style, man. Have you looked into Trench Crusade? I think you would have a blast with those conversions. I have. I definitely. Because I settled on a War Transformed, which I'm gonna push through on that. Then I'll kind of hopefully be able to, if I want to try Trench Crusade, I'll then have miniatures for it. Kinda. I know it's Trench Crusade is a little bit more weird if I understand it correctly. A little bit more sort of futuristic-ish weird. I'm not sure here, but there's like 3 of them. And I always mix them up. So where a War Transformed is very much more sort of pagan, folklore-ish. And I know one is a bit more like there's a kind of more sci-fi vibe to it, even though it's Weird World War One. And I can't remember if that's Trench Crusade or not. Victor says, given that it's clear that Games Workshop has no respect for their consumers anymore, and by that I don't mean and don't care about female custodies, but how do they constantly depreciate models? It's a complicated issue. It's obviously a large company that makes a lot of money and has shareholders that want them to make even more money. And I mean, in the end, they're the biggest company around, and that comes with downsides. But I also think that Warhammer is probably responsible for bringing very many of us into this hobby, and they continue to pull in new people into the hobby and kids and all of that. And so that's also like a bit of a credit where credit is due. And then we just see the commercial, the some of the sad things about the commercial parts of it. And that it also seems to be run kind of a little bit weird. Like as a company, it could obviously be run differently, I think, but I don't really know. It's getting rather expensive too. Frozen Throng says, what's the club situation over in Stockholm? Here in the other side of the country, there are a few clubs that play a pretty wide variety of games. I know of a lot of people that play Warhammer 40,000. And then, Age of Sigmar and Bolt Action a little bit. I don't really know of clubs that play many other things. I know there's a lot of people that kind of book tables at my local game store. So they have, just friends that go there to play instead of playing at home. And then they play whatever they want. But I'm not really aware of all that many like clubs that are open, that aren't just friends playing, that, on the whole play many other things than Warhammer 40K or Age of Sigmar. Frozen Throg says, would be cool to have more games that are somewhat in between skirmish and large games. I'm sure they are. But I don't know what that would look like, really. Kind of like you need to pick your poison a little bit. Timothy says, some Malifaux minis are not cut up for the sprue in a sensible way. A beard doesn't need to be a separate part. Yeah, that's what I heard. I'm going to browse through a little bit here because I'll soon be rounding off. It's been about 2 hours, I believe, and I can feel my voice is, it's probably The Thirst. It's a favorite film of mine. Cold One in Alex. That imagery is the best looking beer ever. Yeah. Anyway. Shouldn't be talking, please drink and responsibly and don't do bad things and all that. Remember that, kids. Sydney says some things about Hametsu again. Okay, so we'll write Hametsu. Hametsu. Okay. Check that out. Also says, my wife and I watched your videos of essential paints, and after scrounging every hobby shop in my area, finally got a bottle of African Shadow. Amazing color. I'm glad you like it. Sometimes I'm not aware of the situations I put people in by saying things on the internet, but I'm glad it worked out for you. George says you need a team of servitors, I suppose. That would fit. That would fit the bunker. You're quite right. Iron Latimer says skirmish for Dune. Okay, cool. Thanks. Anna Karin says, oh gosh, just picked up my first warband, a nature-based warband setup. For what game is that, Anna Karin? Or where's the miniatures from? Jonas says, hello, Alex. I'd like to see you paint some Fallout Wasteland Warfare. I really like that game. I mean, I do like the setting, indeed. Corbin says, if you like solo games at all, I love 5 Parsecs from Home, 5 Leagues from the Borderland. I mean, that might be a way of me actually being able to find the time to play the games, because I spend a lot of time with myself. Said the lonely man in the bunker. Constantine as well recommends A Song of Ice and Fire. Yes. Tossi says Moonstone again. Yes, I've got the starter set for Moonstone, and I want to get that. I just need to figure out how to turn it into a video, but I've started assembling the miniatures. So I look forward to that in about 3 years. Lee John says, don't know if anyone has mentioned this. There's a Kickstarter for minis based on John Blanche's art after he retired from Games Workshop. I saw that. I know one of my patrons backed it. It's the one with the female characters, isn't it? Which I think is cool to be like, okay, so here's, if it is the one about female characters, that's cool. John Blanche is obviously a hobby hero of the highest rank. I just thought the miniatures were maybe a bit kind of sexualized. There's even one of them where you can like see her thingy, kind of. And that's fine for people. It's cool that there's female models. I think the main thing is if it's the one about the female models. They had his art and the sketches, and it's really like characterful, and like the proportions are kind of weird on some of them. One had like these really long legs, and it's all like dystopian and hardcore grimdark. And then the miniatures just look kind of like pretty ladies. And I just felt like they missed the opportunity to sculpt something that actually looks like his art. Instead, they've just been inspired by like, oh, okay, so she's wearing a skirt, so we will put a skirt on the mini, and she has like a captain's hat. But then the rest is just sort of pin-up proportion women. So it didn't trigger me. It's fun to be able to get your hands on more female miniatures if you want to play with them, and there's nothing wrong with like painting pin-up miniatures if you want. I just felt that the sculpting could have been different. It just feels like another set of miniatures in my eyes, and that doesn't mean you shouldn't like them. I'm trying to be polite here for some reason. Ena says, Warzone Resurrection was a few years back, and it did have some bland designs. I personally like WZE much more so far. The Kickstarter page is still up. Okay, so it's a different thing, because then the Warzone Resurrection was what I saw and thought it was a bit bland and boring. Again, I appreciate, same as with what we just said about the John Blanche miniatures. You know, when someone just has the guts to, like, let's just do something that isn't like other things. And I didn't see Warzone Resurrection as that. It just felt like bland. John Bland, not John Blanche. Okay, sorry. Not this kind of feels like I'm saying bad things about God. You can choose the God. But then I'll definitely check out that Resurrection thing. How much am I digging my own grave this time? Warzone. Kickstarter. I'm way over time here. I'm trying to catch up, and then you lovely guys keep writing such great things, and I have a hard time quitting. Necromunda is great. Also can definitely be miniature agnostic. Vector says, yes, Warzone and Mutant Chronicles had such a cool cyberpunk grimdark flavor. I just love the style. Obviously, I kind of grew up with it a little bit. Originally, it was a Swedish thing, which then got sold and took over by others and all of that. But the mutant thing originally is Swedish, so it was pretty big over here. Now my hair looks really weird. Alan says Moonstone is pretty cool. Again, yes, we've talked a little bit about Moonstone. I've reached the end of the chat, haven't I? Wow, I did it. And Bill never answered again, so he's left. I was saying things to you, Bill, and they were nice things. And it says random fun pack Dungeons and Dragons style. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. And then we have some talk about the John Blanche stuff. Yeah, I just think it's such an opportunity to because obviously his art is fabulous and iconic, and I would just dearly would have liked to seen that expressed in the sculpts, but I didn't quite feel it. But I can definitely see how some people will like it. All right, I managed to get to the end of the chat. I'm grateful for everyone who's stuck around. Thank you dearly. I love these live streams. every time I do them, I remind myself that I should be doing them often, and I really would like to. It's just I do them when I have the opportunity. Thank you, everyone, for joining in, for supporting through the super spaced out comments, and hopefully, I believe the next video should be out by the end of next week, probably Thursday or Friday. I'm aiming for Thursday. Maybe I can do live streams from the new place. I don't know what the internet. I'd have to do internet from my phone. We'll see. Anyway, I was rounding off. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a continued lovely Friday, and I hope to see you soon. Bye. I should press a button now. Which one? This one. Okay, bye.